it and receiving interest. Although usury was forbidden, they had no compunctions about charging interest on the money they lent. The fact is, however, that interest is clearly unlawful in all the revealed religions. God reveals this in the Quran. Those who devour usury will not rise from the grave, except as someone driven mad by Satan's touch. That is because they say, trade is the same as usury. But God has permitted trade, and he has forbidden usury. Whoever is given a warning by his Lord, and then desists, can keep what he received in the past, and his affair is God's concern. But all who return to it will be the companions of the fire, remaining in it timelessly forever. The researchers Alan Butler and Stephen Defoe describe the money-lending aspect of the organization in these terms. The Templars were expert financiers, using trading techniques quite unknown in the Europe of their day. They had clearly learned many of these skills from Jewish sources, but would have much more freedom to extend their financial empire in a way that any Jewish financier of the period would have envied greatly. They owned hundreds of castles in Europe. Furthermore, most kings of the time were in debt to them. One source describes the material power of the Templars in the following terms. The throne of England was seriously indebted to the order. King John had emptied the coffers of the treasury between 1260 and 1266 in order to finance his military operations, and Henry III, likewise, borrowed heavily from the Knights Templar. This power made the Templars very influential in a great many areas. For instance, when Innocent II was elected Pope with their support, the first privilege he gave the Templars was the right to build and run their own churches. At the same time, this meant an architecture with which they could freely reflect their own worldview. With that in mind, they developed their own individual style of building, Gothic architecture. The Templars increasingly moved away from the religious beliefs and practices of the Church. The philosophy and way of life which they had maintained in secret right from the outset slowly came to light. Rumors of their deviant lifestyles spread. The perversions going on in the private castles in which the Templars shut themselves for their secret ceremonies made both the people and all the kings of Europe, especially the King of France, most uneasy. The new pope was now certain that this group, over which he was unable to establish any authority, lived an irreligious life and needed to be eliminated. In October 1307, King Philip of France and Pope Clement V decided to arrest the Knights Templar. Some members of the order were thrown into prison. Others were executed. One of those executed was Grand Master Jacques de Molay. Under a decree by Pope Clement V and the King of France, published on March 22, 1312, the Templars were declared to be dissolved, and the order was erased from the official records. Those members of the order who were caught made frightening confessions during 5 years of interrogations. It emerged from these confessions that the Templars entirely rejected God and the theistic religions, and that they were devoted to the perversion of devil worship, these days known as Satanism. They worshipped a goat-headed figure by the name of Baphomet, regarded as the source of evil in black magic. The order had continued its devil-worshipping ceremonies in the greatest secrecy for hundreds of years. Furthermore, disrespect for religious symbols regarded as sacred by all Christians had become a ritual element of those ceremonies. The last person to preside over these ceremonies was Grand Master Jacques de Molay. The churches constructed by the Templars were evidence of the pagan relief they had adopted. This is Roslin Chapel near Edinburgh, one of the Templar churches. Pagan motifs reflecting pagan beliefs are carved all over it. The Templar seal in one corner of the chapel, the same figure of 2 knights on one horse. A representation of the devilish figure Baphomet and other mystical symbols denoting pagan beliefs. These symbols would later appear in Masonic lodges. The following words about Roslin Chapel appeared in Mimar Sinan, the magazine for members of Turkish Masonic lodges. There are so many pagan decorative elements inside the chapel that in his memoirs about the baptism he performed of the Baron of Roslin in 1589, a priest complained, "Because the chapel is filled with pagan idols, there is no place appropriate to administer the sacrament." In August 31, 1592, as a result of pressure exerted on Baron Oliver St. Clair of Roslin, the chapel's pagan-style altar was destroyed. The Templars officially disappeared, although they actually survived in secret. A number of knights who had evaded capture fled to the only European kingdom in 14th century Europe which did not recognize the Catholic Church, Scotland. At that time, the Scots were at war with the English. The Templars acquired considerable freedom by siding with the Scots during that conflict. They infiltrated the stonemason guilds, one of the most influential civil society organizations of the time. Later on, these guilds acquired a political and philosophical identity and turned into secret Masonic lodges. That is how the transition from the operative Masonry to speculative Masonry took place, according to Masonic sources.